All right, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD. Want to hear back in Blazing Source. You can probably hear it in my voice. I am incredibly sick. I am very sick. I've been sick this whole week, and I have been really pushing to get this God of War Iceberg done. And I have just finished the research for this iceberg. It's taken about 2 weeks to research everything here to get assets and all that, and I cannot go any further in this video without thanking the creator of this iceberg. Link below in the description to my boy I should have probably practiced how to say your name, you know what I'm saying? Z Hivago, I think is how you say it, or just Hivagu, Z Hivagu, whatever you want to say. Link below in the description, and he has been privately messaging me on Discord if I have any questions about any entries. He's been incredibly helpful in the making of this iceberg, and I probably would not have really even gotten this done without him in this time frame. So big shout out to him. Very much appreciate him. Definitely go check out his iceberg down below in the description, but we will be doing his iceberg today. So I did the last was iceberg a few weeks ago. Y'all definitely enjoyed that. I'm back at it again with the God of War series, with this God of War Iceberg. Okay, so down below as well, you will also find the iceberg link that I said before, but you will also find all of the links to the entries that pertain to a link. So if I found an answer that was from a specific creator or from something that is from somewhere else, right, I make sure to link it down below in the description. That way y'all can get more info on that specific topic, because I don't want to get too deep into something that really required like a whole thing on its own, you know what I'm saying? But if you are new here and you've never watched an iceberg video, really quick explanation. On the top of the iceberg, we'll see different things about the God of War franchise that are things that you may know about. There's like the Leviathan Axe, there's the Blades of Chaos, etc., right? But then the deeper and deeper we go into the iceberg, and the longer we get into this video, we'll be covering things that will definitely blow your mind, things that you probably didn't know that were in the God of War franchise. There's a crazy goat party story that we're going to cover in this video that I had no idea existed, but yeah, it's a real thing. And so here's where I'm at with this video, okay? So it is Friday, November 4th, 5:25 p.m., okay? The plan is to get this iceberg out before God of War Ragnarok's release on Tuesday night. That is the plan. Okay, the recording sessions have now started. I still got to edit this thing, also done recording, and I'm also sick as hell. So we're going to see how this is going to go. You know what I'm saying, my boys? We're in this for the long haul, and if you've been following my Twitter and everything the past few weeks, you have seen me talk about this iceberg. You've seen how much, time went into this, and I am sick. So, we're going to see how this goes. The show goes on. But down below, if you do end up enjoying the iceberg or find any type of enjoyment, also time codes will be down below in the description as well. So if you guys do enjoy that, make sure to like on the video, as well as subscribe to PlayStation Store to keep up with the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. We covered things from Last of Us, from of course God of War with God of War Ragnarok coverage, and more, all revolving around the world of PlayStation. So without further ado, let's get right into the God of War Iceberg. Okay, I lied. I want to tell y'all just one last thing about PlayStation Source here and what we do. We have what's called the Road to Podcast series. It is a weekly podcast series dedicated to any and all things PlayStation games, and they're specifically tuned for upcoming PlayStation releases that are first party. So they are around 10 to 12 episodes in length overall. Think like limited time series, but for podcasting, right? So right now we are doing, of course, Road to Ragnarok. We've done Road to Miles Morales in the past. We've done Road to Forbidden West. In the future, of course, we will do Road to Spider-Man 2 and whatever else comes out on PlayStation first party. And now we are doing, of course, Road to Ragnarok. Definitely go check out that podcast series. I do it with my boy Kyle Stevenson of PS Trophy Room. Definitely go check out that podcast. We have covered a lot of topics involving God of War. And leading into the release of God of War Ragnarok, we will be doing our first impressions and review of the game. So don't miss Road to Ragnarok. Of course, how can you start any other God of War Iceberg? The minigames. No, I'm not saying the word because I'm not trying to get demonetized, okay? Minigames, alright? One of the most famous aspects of the original God of War games, and one of the main reasons I wasn't allowed to play God of War growing up, is the addition of the minigames you can find throughout the games. They were specifically included in God of War 1, 2, 3, Chains of Olympus, and Ghost of Sparta, with them being dropped from the release of God of War Ascension and onwards. They never depicted the actual act itself, but it was heavily implied, and you could control Kratos by inputting button prompts like a QuickTime event. Based on what director of God of War 2018 Corey Barlog says, it's pretty clear to me that they wanted to evolve Kratos from who he was to who he is now within the Norse-centric games. The tone they were going for just wouldn't match, and I think it's sensical that his days of minigames, we'll say, are long gone and he has much greater stakes to deal with. Boy. You all have to know this entry, but refers to how Kratos constantly calls Atreus boy throughout God of War 2018. This montage from Playtendo is a great encapsulation of Kratos calling Atreus boy all the way until the very end of the game when he calls him son for the first time.
The boy has fallen ill! Boy, boy, boy? Boy! No boy. Please, boy. Boy! Well done, boy! Boy. Boy. We do it together. Son.
The Leviathan Axe. The Leviathan Axe is the primary weapon used by Kratos in God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok. It is infused with ice, and it was forged by Brock and Sindri and continues to be upgraded by them throughout the game by using Frozen Flame. The Holder brothers created the Leviathan Axe for Laufey aka Faye, who is the late wife of Kratos and the mother to Atreus. Due to feeling responsible for the destruction caused by Thor wielding Mjolnir, a weapon the brothers also created, they made the Leviathan Axe in retaliation and gave it to Faye, who they thought very highly of as someone who protected the weak and helped the needy. On her deathbed, she gave the axe to Kratos, and the rest is history. The Blades of Chaos. The Blades of Chaos is a weapon given to Kratos in the original God of War game and featured as the secondary weapon in God of War 2018. Infused with fire, they were forged in the underworld by Ares himself, a part of the deal Kratos made with Ares, in that if Ares killed the barbarians in a battle where he was about to die and saved him, that he would pledge his life to the God of War himself and forever serve him on earth. He was given the Blades of Chaos to enact the will of Ares, being seared to his forearms as a constant reminder of the oath he gave to Ares. Later in the Iceberg, we'll talk about how the Blades of Chaos actually follow Kratos, but more on that later. Circle spam. This has to do with how many times in the original games where we have to repeatedly mash the circle button, whether to slay a boss at the end bit of a QTE or clear a path. It was heavily relied on in the previous God of War games. Very thankful for now being able to switch those taps to only having to hold down the button due to accessibility options like in God of War 2018. Those definitely, I recommend you guys doing those for modern games. If you guys don't, stop mashing the button. Like, come on, like, yo, it's gonna cost you some pain in the fingers. You don't want that, you know what I'm saying? Just hold the button down. Atreus is Loki. Yes, the biggest reveal in God of War 2018 is that Atreus was meant to be named Loki as seen in this clip.
I guess there's just one thing I don't understand. My name on the wall. The giants called me Loki?
Loki. That's the name your mother wanted for you when you were born. She must have called you that to her people.
But why?
A question for another day. Let us go home.
It lines up and is much more apparent that Atreus is Loki if you play God of War 2018 again. He is seen constantly speaking to animals, or more accurately sensing their emotions throughout the game. He is also responsible, well, technically partially responsible, for the death of Balder as he does in traditional Norse myth. But if that doesn't prove it enough, watch what he asks Kratos as soon as he is informed that he is part god.
I was born a god, and so were you. Boy, have you nothing to say?
Can I turn into an animal?
Can you turn into animal. No. No, I do not think so.
In Norse myth, yes, you guessed it, Loki is a shapeshifter that enables him to turn into not only other humans, but animals too, like salmon, horse, etc. Atreus is clearly Loki, and it's cool how they peppered that throughout the game. Square, square, triangle, a classic, boys. This button combination in the OG God of War games, and the new one as well in God of War 2018, will enable Kratos to do the Plume of Prometheus, which has been proven by many players and speedrunners to be extremely effective. As displayed by this clip here from Stefan Plays on YouTube, its splash damage effect with triangle at the end of the combo hits enemies in a 360-degree field, making it very effective for crowd control and is extremely easy to pull off. It also stuns most enemies while breaking shields as well. When in doubt, square, square, triangle. Ghosts of Sparta nickname origins. This comes from the name the Oracle gave Kratos during his conquest of war in the name of Ares during God of War 1. Ares made Kratos kill his wife and daughter, a point we'll get to later on in the Iceberg, so as punishment the Oracle stitches the ashes of his dead wife and daughter onto Kratos' skin so that everyone may know of his wicked deeds. From that moment onwards, he gained the nickname the Ghost of Sparta. The nickname stretches so far and wide and is so well known that even Mimir has heard of the Ghost of Sparta.
Your father was Zeus? I finally understand. I'm dangling from the hip of the bloody Ghost of Sparta.
Do not call me that.
Oh, don't mistake me, brother. From what I heard, the Pantheon had it coming. It's still a bit to take in.
Alrik. Alrik was the barbarian king that bested Kratos in combat so ferociously that it made him beg to Ares for his life in return for his servitude. That was when he got his Blades of Chaos and beheaded Alrik in God of War 1. Alrik returns in God of War 2 by fighting the many guardians of the underworld and rose to life again in a bloody and decayed form due to the fires of Hades. He is also bested by Kratos in God of War 2. In doing so, you also get the barbarian hammer to add to your arsenal, but you can still find a letter that isn't confirmed to be Alrik, but definitely sounds like him. Hades, I beg at your palace gates, grant me a reprieve. Have I not become all you wanted? Are my debts not paid in full? How long must I hope for a rescue that will never come? He becomes a god while I rot and suffer. Release me so that I may have my revenge. It would have been so cool to see Alrik in Helheim during God of War 2018, so let's hope he's in Ragnarok since we're going back to hell anyway. The Boat Captain. The Boat Captain is a long-running gag that spans most of the God of War games. As the Boat Captain was sailing his ship with his crew in God of War 1, they were attacked and eaten by the Hydra King while trying to fend off against the Hydra heads. Kratos needed the captain's key though after defeating the Hydra King and found the Boat Captain in the throat of the Hydra King. Rather than saving the captain and retrieving the key around his neck, he just got the key and left the captain to die. Later on in the game, Kratos uses the captain as a literal stepping stool to escape the underworld and return to the land of the living. During the Alrik boss fight in God of War 2, Alrik summons souls from the underworld to assist in the fight, and one of them ends up being the boat captain himself. He runs away, but Kratos kills him again as well. A letter in God of War 3 can be found in the underworld by the boat captain as well. He could have saved me. He held my life in his hands and still he let go. I may have been just a mere boat captain, but he treated me as if I was nothing. He is to blame for my torment here. I hope he suffers in Hades as I have. Damn that Ghost of Sparta. And lastly, in God of War 2018, there's a small reference that's really cool. We find an artifact that tells us one of the crew members in God of War 1 that was attacked by the Hydra initially survived and supposedly took the captain's key after Kratos used it to sail to a quote new land. The ship and remaining crew ended up in the Lake of Nine and wrecked the ship, causing it to sink along with the key. Since the World Serpent causes the water to drop, the wrecked ship that was initially underwater can now be reached being above water to retrieve the treasure. Super cool detail that he still made it into God of War 2018 while not actually being there, but cross our fingers, guys, and this may be at least a guarantee that we will get some sort of reference to the boat captain, but I do hope we actually see him in God of War Ragnarok. Kratos is Farbauti. This refers to, in the same way that Atreus has a different name for how the giants refer to him, being Loki, Kratos also has an alternate name as well. If you translate the runes on the secret mural that only Kratos sees in God of War 2018, Kratos' name translates to Farbauti. Thanks to Reddit user Hard to Handle, he broke down that in Norse mythology, Loki's father is named Farbauti and can be translated in English to dangerous strike or cruel strike. In early myth, Farbauti is also described as lightning. This definitely connects since Kratos' father is the god of lightning himself, Zeus. The Reddit post ends off with this very interesting insight, quote, Farbauti would appear to be part of an early nature myth alluding to wildfire, Loki, being produced by lightning, Farbauti, striking dry tinder such as leaves, which means Laufey, or pine needles, Nal. So Kratos being lightning and Faye, whose full name is Laufey, being leaves, combined to form a wildfire being Loki, according to early myth. A very cool lineage there, how those all connect to Old Norse mythology. Strap in, boys. We have Lysandra and Calliope. Lysandra is the former wife of Kratos, along with Calliope being the former daughter of Kratos. They are killed by Kratos himself when Ares transported Lysandra and Calliope from Sparta to a small village that worshipped Athena. As Kratos attacked the village, he entered the temple of Athena and killed everyone inside, including Lysandra and Calliope. This was all intended to happen by Ares himself, as he felt that Kratos was held back by the love and attachment he had for Lysandra and Calliope. This enabled Kratos to renounce his pledge to Ares and seek vengeance against his master. They are seen in many allusions throughout the franchise after their death in God of War 1, including God of War Ascension, God of War 2, and more. Lysandra was considered by Kratos to be the one true love and soulmate he'd ever had, along with being the only person that never feared him during his time as a brutal Spartan captain serving Ares. She also questioned his reasons for killing many innocent people multiple times. As for Calliope, she loved Kratos dearly and would wait eagerly for him to return from his war campaigns. On one occasion in between campaigns, Kratos carves her a flute and she would always play a specific melody. A flute melody of the God of War 2018 theme plays when Kratos smells the Lemnian wine him and Atreus eventually drink, leaving Tyr's vault. This could be in reference to Calliope. A backstory of Calliope told in the official God of War comic provides a deeper connection to this reference, as when Calliope was young, she had a skin disease implanted by Ares. In the eyes of Spartan law, she was to be sacrificed because she was deemed weak, which makes Kratos go to seek ambrosia, which is a substance of the Olympian gods that granted immortality and healing. He eventually uses this to cure Calliope. And so I know they're not the same substance, but maybe Kratos is remembering this moment as he smells the Lemnian wine and how the ambrosia may be smelled, and that's why we hear the flute sound in that section. Oh, and she appeared in the God of War Ascension live action commercial too. God of War 3, no new game plus. So no new game plus mode ever was officially added to God of War 3, including the remastered version on PS4 as well. However, a glitch can be achieved in order to unofficially start God of War 3 with all of your weapons. This trick can come in handy since one of the trophies for the platinum is to max out all of your weapons, and utilizing this glitch can not only help you with that, but achieve the trophy to beat the game on Titan mode, which will be much easier with your full arsenal. I'll leave a link in the description to an old IGN boards thread that details how to do it, along with the video version by Soggy Spy on YouTube, but it's pretty straightforward. Deimos. Deimos was the younger brother of Kratos. He was abducted by Ares during his childhood to avert a prophecy about the destruction of Mount Olympus at the hand of a marked warrior that the oracle foretold. Due to Deimos having unusual birthmarks, he was the prime suspect for said prophecy. Deimos was then tortured by Thanatos, god of death, for years in the domain of death. After he came of age in the domain of death, Deimos was fueled by hatred for the brother who had failed to save him from his torment. After Deimos was rescued by Kratos on God of War Ghost of Sparta and still held initial resentment toward him, he ultimately reconciled with his brother and joined forces with him to battle Thanatos, only to be killed by the death god. That was not unavenged, however, as Kratos killed Thanatos shortly after. His death was the final straw which led Kratos to snapping at the gods and vowing to kill them. I'd love to see him in the future, or for him to be brought up at any capacity. It's also pretty neat that because Deimos was captured by Ares, Kratos, to honor him, got the exact same tattoo markings, and it's Kratos who becomes the marked warrior who would inevitably cause the fall of Olympus, just as it was prophesied. The irony there, but the tattoos that Kratos has are not what makes him the marked warrior. We will talk about that later on in the Iceberg. Apollo. This refers to the notion that even though Apollo is extremely important amongst the mythology, being the Olympian god of light, son of Zeus, and twin brother of Artemis, he has never appeared in person at all in any of the games. He's briefly mentioned in the official God of War comics where Kratos gets Apollo's flame. Artifacts that honor Apollo can be seen in God of War Ascension. Apollo's bow can be used in God of War 3, along with Apollo's costume that is DLC for God of War 3 and PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Just odd that Apollo was able to escape Kratos' war damage against the gods, considering how prominent of a figure he is in Greek mythos, and that Apollo is Kratos' half brother at that point. Yeah, I guess that's true. Callisto. Callisto was the mother of Kratos and Deimos. You primarily find her in Atlantis, where she was held during the events of God of War Ghost of Sparta. Callisto reveals that she was forced by Kratos' dad to lie about Deimos being dead and that he had brought her here. Just as Callisto was about to tell Kratos the name of his father, she turns into a monster and they fight. After the battle, she points Kratos in the direction to find Deimos, who is trapped in the death's domain. So not only did Kratos kill his wife, daughter, he also killed his mother, which is extremely unfortunate. This one, I mean, I don't even know where to even begin with this, okay? But ashes are fading. This is in reference to the 102 rapid fire questions about God of War that Game Informer did with Cory Barlog, and he had this to say about the question.
Is the ash that covers Kratos fading over time?
A little bit.
The oracle originally said that, quote, "From this night forward, the mark of your terrible deed will be visible to all. The ashes of your wife and child will remain fastened to your skin, never to be removed." So is it even possible for them to come off? Could Cory Barlog have been joking? Possibly, right? But God of War Ragnarok could have an ending for Kratos that removes the ashes, or do you think they are forever permanent and Athena saying that he will always be a monster is true? What do you guys think? Do you guys actually think they're fading? I mean, sometimes if you look at like Kratos' skin, you can kind of see that olive Greek skin popping through sometimes in some angles, so maybe they are fading. I don't know, who knows? Down below, guys, what do you guys think? Do you guys think eventually we will see Kratos' glistening, olive Greek skin in the future? Kratos' stomach scar. This points to the origins of Kratos' stomach scar that can still be seen in God of War 2018. Technically, this could have been from God of War 1 when Ares throws a wooden arrow pillar at him, Zeus stabbing him in God of War 2, then Kratos stabbing himself in God of War 3, maybe a combination of all of them, right? But it's still cool to see that he still has those scars from those original games on his stomach, because those were pretty, brutal attacks that, they would obviously still be there. There were some people that were saying that the scar looks bigger in God of War 2018 as opposed to the other games, and that they're saying that there was something that happened in between the games that made the scar bigger. I don't know about that. It looks pretty much the same to me, but down below, if you think differently, what are your thoughts? Now, here is a juicy entry here, Atreus Storms. This entry refers to something I also noticed during my recent God of War 2018 playthrough. It refers to when Midgard starts to experience storms, when Atreus falls ill to his sickness, and when he yells at Sindri later on during his god complex moment. People have speculated that the storms come from Thor beating up Modin Modi off screen due to thinking that Modi left Magni to die in a cowardice fashion. I like that, and that definitely makes sense, but I also like an even deeper way of thinking about it is that when you think about it, guys, Atreus's grandfather is Zeus himself, the Greek god of thunder, right? So maybe in, you know, the mixture of having, you know, Kratos and we have Faye doing a mini game to get Atreus and Atreus's abilities as Loki mixing with Kratos' lineage and, you know, it being the Zeus god of thunder as his grandfather, maybe there's some, you know, similar things there. That's just my thought. What do you guys think in the comments below? That's definitely my guess, that the weather changes because Atreus has a little bit of Zeus in him. God of War 2 minigames. So in God of War 2, they made a slight change to how the minigames are delivered to the player. In the first game, it was a part of the story's main path, but in the sequel, it was hidden a bit, which made players think that it was never in the game at all. But all you have to do is destroy this wall after the first part of the Colossus fight, and you'll be able to take a breather in between all of the carnage. Artemis. Artemis is the twin sister to Apollo, with Zeus being her father, which in turn also makes her Kratos' half-sister. She's the Olympian goddess of the hunts according to Greek lore. Like her brother Apollo, she too is very limited in appearances during the games aside from the original God of War game, where she bestows Kratos with the blades of Artemis. It's a slow use weapon that has extremely high damage, making it very effective overall. Her limited run in the franchise includes a comic appearance, the blade of Artemis being in the God of War Betrayal game, and a light runic attack for the blades of Chaos called the Wrath of Artemis, and I wonder if Apollo and Artemis will have something to do with Ragnarok, but I'm not really holding my breath because they were really never a part of the story in the first place. Eagle in Helheim. The eagle we see in Helheim is named her Aesvelgr. Shout out to Xanier Aesthetics for the free roam camera view of the eagle, link below in the description. But in Norse mythology, her Aesvelgr translates to corpse swallower in Old Norse, and her Aesvelgr is a giant who takes the form of an eagle. He sits at the top of the end of the world and causes the winds in Helheim to blow when he beats his wings. Speaking of wings, the eagle has 4 wings according to the concept art for God of War, and I have no doubt that when we return to Helheim in God of War Ragnarok, we will certainly have a boss battle with her Aesvelgr. That's like almost guaranteed, but the only thing is, what do we make of Mimir's warning to Kratos?
What is that place?
Never go there. Understand?
Judging by how in Norse myth her Aesvelgr sits at the end of the world, there may be no return, but Kratos is definitely one to come back from no return in the past. The cycle ends here. It's a popular line throughout God of War 2 and now God of War 2018. The first time this is said is with Zeus when he is influenced by the fear within Pandora's box, causing him to want to kill Kratos and send him to hell so that he wouldn't kill him to become the ruler of Olympus. The same way Zeus himself killed his father Kronos to rule Olympus.
You will never be the ruler of Olympus. The cycle ends here.
However, in God of War 2018, Kratos echoes the line as he kills Baldur for trying to do what he himself did in God of War 3, kill his parent.
The cycle ends here. Must be better than this.
Though Freya asking if Atreus knows where Kratos is, we get this beautiful dialogue that puts the whole line into context.
Boy, listen close. I'm from a land called Sparta. I made a deal with the god that cost me my soul. I killed many who were deserving, and many who were not. I killed my father.
That was your father in hell. Is this what it is to be a god? Is this how it always ends? Sons killing their mothers? Their fathers?
No. We will be the gods we choose to be, not those who have been. Who I was is not who you be. We must be better.
Kratos wants to end the cycle and doesn't want the past he lived to be the path Atreus walks. That being a god doesn't have to mean killing your parents. But others, like this great Reddit thread from I See the Alchemist, puts a different take onto the line itself. Link in the description to the full post, but in summary it explains that what if the line has a double meaning relating to Ragnarok? That Ragnarok marks the end of the world in Norse mythology so that a new world can be born again. It's a cycle. With Kratos being an outsider to these lands and not accounted for at all, he could quite literally be the wild card that changes and or breaks the cycle of Ragnarok. I think it mostly ties to Kratos echoing and changing the line first spoken by Zeus, but I guess we'll see if there is a tie-in with the double meaning of Ragnarok itself in God of War Ragnarok. Who called the world serpent? One of, if not the biggest questions and loose ends in God of War 2018 is when Kratos is taking Atreus to see Faye after he fell unconscious to his illness, and this occurs.
Somebody just called the serpent.
There's so many theories to this, and it's difficult to pinpoint at the time of this recording since we'll surely get the answer in God of War Ragnarok. At this point, only Mimir and Atreus can call the world serpent that we know of, and the both of them are with Kratos. Theories around answering this involve alternate timelines where it could be Kratos and Atreus from the future, Odin, Freya, Heimdall, Angerboda, Baldur, but at this point, I'm just going to wait and see, but I do like the time travel theories as to who called the world serpent though. Those are pretty cool. A man battling Zeus himself, an image of the future. This refers to an image seen in Pandora's temple in the original God of War game. This is just one of the many murals throughout the franchise that foretell future events, with this man battling Zeus being Kratos himself. Aphrodite attacks Kratos. This refers to how originally Kratos was going to be attacked by Aphrodite during God of War 3 and eventually kill her as well. However, there's two different instances that this was going to occur. The first is through leaked audio files I found from Captain Kuba on YouTube. Always link below in the description to go check out this clip in full.
You are so single-minded, Kratos. Do you not have time for the simple pleasures?
Go then. Go and conquer all of Olympus if you must. But do not expect me to be waiting for you.
You betray me, woman?
There is no denying that you are always good for one thing, Kratos. But I will stop you from destroying Olympus.
I wouldn't have expected this from you, Aphrodite. You deserve to be with your husband.
He details that she likely would have summoned enemies to kill Kratos, and this would have taken place during the second encounter you see her in God of War 3, making her the 7th god you kill. The other instance is his interview with the director of God of War 3, Stig Asmussen, who has since gone on to direct Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and the upcoming sequel, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. He says in his interview that originally, before being scrapped, the idea would be when trying to do the minigame a second time with Aphrodite, the camera would pan out. A record-scratching sound would then occur and the camera would pan back to the bed. Aphrodite would then try to kill Kratos with the daggers hanging over the bed, initiating a QuickTime event to boot her down into Hades. It was however reinforced that she would not be murdered. Not sure which one is more true than the other, or the way that Stig described it, it could have came before the instance we see with the leaked audio before it all got scrapped completely, but it's pretty cool to know that Aphrodite was intended to be one of the gods that we kill in God of War 3. Egyptian gods. This entry, as far as I can tell, points to two specific aspects that point to the existence of Egyptian gods in the God of War franchise. The first is in God of War Fallen Gods comic, where Kratos travels to Egypt after the events of God of War 3. A mysterious elderly scribe, both the talking ibis and baboon that Kratos encountered, turns out to be Thoth, a Egyptian god of wisdom, writing, hieroglyphics, science, magic, art, judgment, and the dead. The other mention of Egypt can be be seen in God of War 2018 in the secret chamber of Odin in Helheim. It shows a panel that Odin stole from Tyr that depicts 3 other symbols of war from different mythologies: an Omega symbol for the Greek mythology, a Mitsudome symbol for Japanese myth, a Triskelion symbol for Celtic myth, and the Eye of Horus for, you guessed it, Egyptian myth, as Tyr was known to meet with other gods to promote peace instead of war as a means to resolve conflict. If you want to know more, we did a dedicated episode of Road to Ragnarok all about what could be next for God of War after Ragnarok. Link in the description to the playlist as well. For the record, I really would like to see a God of War game in Egypt, but down below, let me know what interests you more of these 3 different options: of the Japanese myth, of the Celtic myth, or of the Egyptian myth. Which one would you want to see in the future of God of War? Jet Dash. Jet Dash is the name of a trick you can do in God of War 3 that essentially makes Kratos fly. This tutorial on YouTube by Findlestick, shout out to him, link below in the description. It's a really good example of it, but to do it, you have to run and do a double jump off a ledge, do a dash mid-air. Right when you finish dash, hold L2 and tap square. Apparently it's really finicky, so it may take you a few tries, but try it for yourself and let me know if you were able to pull off the jet dash in God of War 3. Gravedigger is Zeus. So if you ever played God of War, you gotta know about the Gravedigger. He dug a hole so Kratos can escape the underworld and even claimed it to be Kratos' grave. However, in Ghost of Sparta, after unlocking all other items in the Temple of Zeus, players can obtain the Gravedigger's shovel, which allows them to use the Gravedigger's skin in the combat arena. But when you do, the Gravedigger changes into Zeus himself. This begins to make sense considering that he calls Kratos son, along with the voice actor being the same as Zeus in the God of War games. Oh, and Stig Asmussen even said he was in the God of War Unearthing the Legend documentary. So if you need some more, backing, yes, it is true, Gravedigger is Zeus. Atreus' scar is Kratos' tattoo. So this is something that I've never actually realized until making this iceberg, but if you look at Atreus' face scars, they match Kratos' tattoos. However, if you recall earlier in the iceberg, it's not that Atreus has the same scars as his dad's tattoos, but he has the same scars as the birthmark of his late uncle Deimos, the brother of Kratos. So really cool to see that he still has those, Greek genetics there, and the birthmark still continues and all that. Really cool to see that. Notes in Hades. This refers to many notes you find in Hades and God of War 3. We've read a few already on this iceberg, like the boat captain and Alrik the Barbarian's notes, but below I'll leave a full link in the description. There's a ton of really cool stuff in there, a lot of really cool notes in there defined and all that great stuff. Banned trophy. In God of War Ascension, a trophy existed during the review phase of the game's release called, quote, Bros Before Hoes, which was earned by brutally beating a female Fury. Many, but most prominently Adam Sessler, called the trophy out for being misogynistic and for promoting violence against women. Sony Santa Monica changed the name of the trophy before the game even came out and changed it to Bros Before Foes and released this statement saying, quote, we have created and will soon push out a patch for God of War Ascension that alters the title of one of the game's trophies. This text was inoffensive to some members of our community and impacted their enjoyment of the game. We are endlessly committed to ensuring that our community can fully enjoy the experiences the team has created. As such, we've addressed the feedback and amended the trophy in question. Yeah, overall, can definitely see why people weren't feeling the naming scheme with the trophy, but what do you guys think? Do you think that they should have kept it? Do you think they should have changed it? For me personally, I feel like it was probably the best thing for all parties to just change the trophy name, but let me know down below in that comment section. Shovel Knight. This is a really cool Easter egg. In Shovel Knight, there's a way to be able to fight Kratos as a secret hidden boss fight. PS5 Trophies on YouTube has a great tutorial that I'll link below in the description, but upon beating Kratos, you'll get the Gravedigger shovel that can be converted into a Chaos armor set to use in game. The dialogue that Kratos has is really cool and it's a super neat Easter egg. You guys have to go check it out for yourselves if you've not already played Shovel Knight. Atreus wears Kratos' old clothes. This is also such a cool detail, had no idea this was here, but not only does Atreus have his late uncle Deimos' birthmarks as scars, but he also wears Kratos' Greek clothing under his armor. That is incredibly cool to see. I wonder if Kratos also still has some of those old armor sets. Hey man, can we maybe smelt them down? Maybe Atreus can use them, maybe you can use them for yourself in Ragnarok. We'll have to see when the game comes out. Zora and Lora. So there's a few things with this one in particular, but let's start with that. Zora and Lora are the two women in God of War 1 that Kratos meets in his bed chambers, and they do the mini game depicted by the bouncing vase. We all know what's going on, right? They're also seen in God of War 2 when Kratos accepts the title of being God of War, but they were never officially named Zora and Lora until the novelization of the game's released, and they're depicted wildly and consistently across the mediums. For example, in game, they're both brunettes, but in the CGI cutscenes, one of them is blonde, and in the novelizations, they're described as being redheads. There's also a Reddit thread that points out that Zora and Lora are cousins of Kratos somehow through Aphrodite, which makes it very awkward because then Kratos does the minigame with Aphrodite in God of War 3, and then with Zora and Lora, and yeah, there was a lot that was fair game in ancient Greek times. Kratos' smile. Ah, yes, the infamous Kratos smile meme. You love to see it. Kratos is one to rarely smile, so it's always wholesome and a little unsettling sometimes to see him smile. In fact, here's a montage of a bunch of real and fake photos of Kratos smiling. What's your favorite? Let me know. Zeus Spectating. This refers to a Reddit post from the Oriental Wang where he proposes that we can actually see Zeus's eyes in Helheim watching us while we are doing the level. Link below in the description to this Reddit post, and I think this is definitely a possibility that Zeus would be overseeing Kratos in Helheim and all that. And we have a lot more in this iceberg to cover that really does kind of give a lot of context to this actually being the case. We'll get to it when we get to it. Secret message 1 and 2. These refer to two phone numbers that you get when you complete certain tasks in God of War 1 and 2 that when they are called have pretty interesting and funny things in the phone messages themselves, including one featuring David Jaffe himself, who directed the first God of War game. First, you must beat God of War 1 in God mode to get access to the phone number for the first secret message. Then you must destroy the two statues in the throne room to get access to the second phone number for the second message. For ease sake, I'll leave the phone numbers on screen so you can call them for yourselves because they do actually work in 2022. I was very shocked to actually try them and they did work. But for the sake of the video, let's actually play them here for you guys. Now, I could not find great audio for the first message. I'm very sorry about that. But the second one is a really clear message as well. So let's go to the first one here.
At last you are here. I have killed the Hydra myself, ripped the head off Medusa's shoulders, even killed a god of Olympus, but I have never seen such skill and strength as yours. You have conquered God mode. The time and dedication you put into reaching this point is worthy of celebration and reward. Sadly, what can I offer one such as you? The keys to Olympus itself? Hardly a gift I'm willing to part with. Perhaps instead, a private tour. Here, come with me. When I first made my way to the throne of Olympus, I noticed this chamber. Impenetrable to all except me. Even Lord Zeus is unaware of its existence. But you will know its secret.
And we will cut it off right there and play the rest later, but let's go to the second message right now.
By the gods, you've done it. Somehow you found your way here to me. I offer you my congratulations and my respect. Together, we shall conquer the perils that lay before us, and we shall always...
Kratos, dude, they did it. They found our Easter egg.
Who are you?
It's me, David Jaffe. I directed the game.
What game?
Your game, God of War.
Go away or I'll...
Dude, don't you get it? These guys, they spent all that time breaking those statues. I mean, they must have taken, like, forever. And then they figured out the whole secret code thing.
I do not know what you are talking about.
We hid this secret pretty damn deep, huh, Kratos?
If I kill you, I will get health orbs.
But wait. If you got the secret from the net or a magazine, then actually you kind of suck. I mean, work for it a bit, right, Kratos? Actually, can I call you Krat?
No. Go away or
Hey,
I'll
don't you hate it when they get the codes off the net? It's so lazy. Hey, say, Krat, what are you so pale for?
I am serious.
You know, up close, you actually look kind of pasty, if you don't mind me saying. It's kind of gross.
All right, that's it!
Jeez, Krat, what are you doing? What are you doing? Grab it, we gotta make the sequel!
He was worse than a screeching harpy. As I was saying, you have found the secret. You have done well. Congratulations, mortal. We will meet again.
Kratos' scar origin. While Kratos has many scars, I believe the one this entry is referencing is his face scar. This was given to him by Ares himself when he was a young boy. As stated in Ghost of Sparta, Ares and Athena went to capture Deimos due to them thinking that due to his birthmark on his face, he was the one that the prophecy spoke of the Marked One prophecy that would eventually bring about the destruction of Mount Olympus. Kratos tried to save his brother, but was given a devastating blow upon his right eye by Ares himself. While Kratos will go on to get tattoos that match Deimos in his honor, this mark Ares gives him could have also made him the Marked One prophecy if you really think about it. Golden Fleece blood. This refers to the original defensive shield Kratos used in his younger years and a particular blood spot on it. In God of War 2, the fleece had no blood and most point to the lack of necessary tools to make it appear in-game for its absence. However, it does appear in God of War 3, but the blood pattern changes when God of War 3 got remastered. Very intriguing. Very intriguing. Sandstorm Elevator. The Sandstorm Elevator level is a detailed level of God of War 1 featured in the deleted levels documentary you get access to when you beat the game on any difficulty. I'll let David Jaffe break it down, but definitely check out the full version by either beating God of War 1 or checking out the link I left below in the description.
So this level is actually a level that we went so far as that we showed the press, we got it in magazines, and this was really a hard cut for us to make, and especially for me to make. I love the mechanic of it, and I love the platforming and the concept. And the concept was that you're riding this elevator, and you know, if you get knocked off, obviously you'll die. And if you get off the elevator, the idea was it was going to originally be being chased by this massive sandstorm. And the elevator was really the only thing. It was sort of a magical elevator that protected you from the sand. And if you got off the elevator would bypass you and the sandstorm would engulf you and kill you. And the two things we didn't have time to do is we didn't have time to tune it, and we didn't have time to build the sandstorm. But what I loved was this whole idea of, you know, getting off the elevator and having to catch back up with it. So, you know, you'd have these little forks in the road, and either you'd be forced, like coming up, you'd be forced to get off the elevator, or you could choose different paths. And if you took one path, it was more combat heavy, one path was more platform heavy. And as you can see, I mean, we had this pretty much finished from a standpoint of the art and the setup, but we were missing the big sandstorm, and we were missing the tuning time to really make this fun, and so it ended up getting cut. This I love. This was great. This is great. I love this for the elevator. Now it gets smaller. I guess we talked about putting this in the actual, oh, see, they suck. Whoever played this couldn't keep up with the elevator, but that was the whole idea, trying to keep up with the elevator. So it's tough. It's really tough when you have to cut ideas that you're really passionate about out of the game, but you do so you can make the other ideas that you do have in the game shine even brighter. So it's sort of a constant process, or it's a constant aspect of the process that's just a really tough thing that you go through, but I think it's worth it because it makes the overall product better.
Guns in God of War. So this entry really threw me for a loop because I've played all of the God of War games and none have guns in them. I thought I was sure, but boy, I was wrong. In the bonus video content for God of War 1, we get one video called, quote, The Fate of the Titan, that details after Kratos takes Pandora's box from Kronos' back, he lives for another 1,000 years wandering in the desert. Eventually he dies, but it fast forwards to military explorers that explore the corpse to seek out the temple on his back. Absolutely insane. But then it gets deeper with something everyone that has beaten God of War 1 has already seen. In the final cutscene, where the camera zooms in on Kratos sitting on the throne of God of War, we get quick weaponry of each era. The narrator states that Kratos will look upon all of these wars to come as the God of War. Really cool stuff, but I do have a question for you all, okay? Would you play as an explorer searching the temple on Kronos' back in a future timeline, but is still in the God of War universe? I don't know. I feel like it might be something that could be cool for like a PSVR, 2 type of experience or something like that. I think that could be really cool. I think they should really double back on that idea and make a little like hour-long interactive PSVR 2 thing where you're exploring the temple of Kronos' back. Let me know, guys. Ares kills Kratos cutscene. At the end of God of War 2, during the fight with Atreus to defend her from destroying the Blade of the Gods, if you fail, you can get a cutscene that depicts a reality where God of War 1's ending never happens and instead Ares kills Kratos. It's pretty wild to actually see what would have happened if it were not for Kratos defending the Blade of the Gods in the future, so that his past self can use it to defeat Ares in God of War 1. Blue Kratos. David Jaffe revealed on his blog back in 2012 that Kratos was originally going to have blue tattoos instead of red ones in the original game. He was also meant to wear more clothing according to this release concept art, but it was scrapped due to someone on the development team pointing out that he looked a lot like the barbarian in Diablo 2. It was then that he was remade to have the iconic red tattoos that we know today. There's even a character model of Kratos with the blue tattoo in the character graveyard in God of War 1 that you can check out. I actually did a video on this diving into more detail a few years ago. Feel free to go check out that description where you can find it in the description. Infinity Gauntlet. This refers to a special and powerful Easter egg in God of War 2018. In short, you have to complete Sindri's family business favor where you'll get the Shattered Gauntlet of Ages talisman. It provides a really cool shockwave ability, good for crowd control, but if you keep doing activities like keep playing the game generally, kill Valkyries, complete Brock's secondhand soul favor, and more, you'll collect other enhancements that are worded in similar ways to the MCU's Infinity Gauntlet, with the names being Andavari's Soul for the Soul Stone, Asgard's Shard of Existence for the Reality Stone, Eye of the Outer Realm for the Space Stone, Ivaldi's Corrupted Mind for the Mind Stone, Muspelheim's Eye of Power for the Power Stone, and Jord's Temporal Stone for the Time Stone. If you have at least 3 of these equipped to the gauntlet itself and fully upgraded, it's extremely powerful, just like the MCU's Infinity Gauntlet. I'll link IGN's guide in the description because it's very concise, very quick to follow, and is a really good resource if you want to do it for yourself before Ragnarok comes out. But by this point, there probably is something else in God of War Ragnarok. Mimir, Kratos, and Atreus in God of War 2. This refers to another mural that can be found in God of War 2 that depicts 3 men walking under a night sky full of stars. Now, I fully think that this was in reference to the 3 wise men of Christian faith, which could entail that they plan to go that route in the future God of War titles. It was even straight up alluded to that the Christian faith was supposed to be a part of the end of God of War 3 in this interview that David Jaffe gave. However, some think that this could be depicting Mimir, Atreus, and Kratos as the 3 wise men instead. It's thought that this could be true based off of the mural's words, which say, quote, 3 travelers heading to an unknown destiny. With Kratos' talk about breaking the cycle and paving the way for their own destiny, I guess it could happen in God of War Ragnarok. What do you guys think? It's cool to speculate on this being Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir, but honestly, it's probably not. It's probably just meant to be the 3 wise men, but maybe they could retcon it and make it true, and maybe this entry could be a fact by the time we play the game. name. Mimir is Odin. So this one's pretty wild, and I believe it's based off of the Matseman 08's Reddit post making the case of Mimir being Odin. I'll have a link down below in the description, but let's read it right now for us just to get a really good grip of this whole thing. Is Mimir just an Odin that has had his mind wiped? He can't remember important information on Balder. Maybe he was broken by some other gods and tied to this tree as punishment. His mind broken and or locked away. There are similarities between Odin and Mimir, the all-knowing Odin and the wise Mimir. They both have only one eye. Maybe they combine the two Norse mythology characters. Time in the game and in Norse myth is circular. Stuff's weird. This may help explain the fact that Mimir and Odin has, according to Mimir's stories, met before and had a friendly and unfriendly relationship together and separate beings. Or it's just that Mimir's mind is just so broken that he imagines the Mimir character as a separate being, but he never existed. It's just his memories as Odin that has become muddled, and he believes that he was Odin's counselor and not Odin himself. You see, like, I like this theory, but I mean, come on, guys. Like, we already saw Odin in the trailer, I'm pretty sure, and you know, this just seems a little bit too far, but hey, you know what? This will be a really cool twist though. If this does happen, I will indeed give you credit for this theory, but I'm on the side of I think they're just two separate characters in God of War Ragnarok. Pandora's temple details in God of War 3. This refers to how when Kratos kills Kronos in God of War 3, you can see certain aspects from God of War 1 in the temple on his back, like the Hades statue, Atlas statue, and the Colosseum that you fight Cerberus in. Pretty neat details, and I know it's hard to see, so if you want a way better view of it, check out Captain Kuba's video about it in the description below. Elijah Wood. So Elijah Wood voiced Deimos, Kratos' brother. I think he's Frodo or something from Lord of the Rings, I've heard, but you know, like, Lord of the Rings is for dorks and Marinos. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect y'all that like Lord of the Rings, you know what I'm saying? Just this particular actor voiced Deimos, okay? I'm sorry. I mean, throw too much shade at y'all. Olympus is rebuilt. This is a very interesting find and adds a lot of context to the scene where Kratos is looking at the vase in Tyr's vault. If you look at the asset of this vase, it looks like Olympus is being rebuilt. So could this also be why Kratos gives it a long stare? Of course, aside from him actually being on the actual vase itself, and there's bloodshed that he has done on that vase that you can see in the depiction of it, but could he also be thinking that a place he thought had been laid to rest in his past could be rebuilt and come back again? Could Olympus be rebuilt? What do you guys think in the comments below? There are other entries that may allude to the future of Olympus after God of War 3, but let me know your thoughts down below in that comment section. Atlas still holds the world. Even though the majority, if not all, of the Greek world is destroyed, it begs the question of whatever happened to Atlas. Long story short, Atlas was a titan who was condemned to hold up the world for eternity. So since it's been confirmed that going to the Norse mythology from Greek mythology was the same vein as going to Norway from Greece, and they all exist in one world, Atlas must still be holding up the world, right? I mean, what do you guys think? Like, I feel like that seems to make perfect sense, right? Like, if they're all on the same world, like, or is Atlas just holding up the Greek world? That seems kind of iffy there, you know, because he was meant to hold up the entire world. What do you guys think? Jesus. So since Cory Barlog confirmed that Christianity is a part of the world of God of War, could we eventually fight Jesus Christ himself? Like, guys, I highly doubt this would ever happen. I highly doubt this would ever happen in the future of God of War. But hey, Christianity is confirmed to be a part of the world of God of War, and I think that is the closest we'll ever get to anything Christianity in God of War. Blades of Twilight. The Blades of Exile in God of War 3 were originally named the Blades of Twilight according to deleted voice lines from Athena, who originally gives you the Blades of Exile in the beginning of the game.
I see truths where I did not before. I know now that we walk the same path. Perhaps these will earn back your trust. These are the Blades of the Twilight. They will help guide you on your journey to the flame.
Also, what's pretty interesting is that they had explosive upgrades to it too. Like, I wonder what that was going to be and everything. That's pretty intriguing. I wonder what that would have looked like in God of War 3 if we were given the Blades of Twilight instead. Deimos and Kratos are both the prophecy. This refers back to the prophecy that what if both Kratos and Deimos share this prophecy that they are both the marked warrior immortal that are meant to see out the destruction of Olympus and the Olympian gods. It makes sense given that Deimos counts for simply having his birthmark, but if it weren't for Deimos getting captured by Ares, Kratos would have never tested Ares like that and make him give him his face scar on top of getting the tattoos in Deimos' honor because Ares took him in the first place, right? So they both fulfill the prophecy, and eventually, you know, the Olympian gods do fall and Olympus does fall. So, you know, I guess that's a way of looking at the prophecy, is that they are both responsible for the marked warrior prophecy. Death, destroyer of worlds. This is said by the Gravedigger in Ghost of Sparta when Kratos asks him what he has become.
By the gods, what have I become?
Death, the destroyer of worlds.
This is also a famous reference to the quote from the Bhagavad Gita, and is also famously quoted by J.R. Oppenheimer himself when he saw the first atomic bomb test. This quote can be found in the Easter egg in God of War 2, where you have to backtrack after killing Perseus to a specific section as well. You have to stand on white platforms and tap R1, then make it to a tree before time runs out. There's a link below in the description that has a great guide if you want to do this Easter egg for yourself. Colossus theme lyrics. This shocked me, and I was not aware of this before making this iceberg, right? But when you're fighting the Colossus, the boss fight music, while epic, is singing lyrics against Kratos, pleading for the Colossus to kill Kratos and save the day. This is absolutely insane. Take a listen. Actually, on second thought, I was gonna play it, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be allowed to play it. You know, I want to keep the monetization on for this video, so y'all can see the subtitles below, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all see that it's true, but y'all should either definitely go listen to it for yourself or go play the game and play that boss fight again, because it definitely does completely change the context of this boss fight. Alright, so this is where things get real here, okay? Is Zeus real in God of War 2018? I found this Reddit post, by the way, link below in the description, but the account was deleted, so I can't give credit to anybody really, but it goes into great detail about this theory on Zeus actually being in Helheim in God of War 2018, and not just being an illusion that Mimir tells Kratos. It takes into account certain effects from God of War in God of War 2018 that are similar, the fact that her Aesvelgr looks at Zeus saying, quote, "It is time, my son, look around at what you've done," during the recreation of the God of War 3 scene, when that was never something that he said in God of War 3, and the fact that Zeus has fought Kratos in astral form during the final battle in God of War 3. But to top it all off, the Greek mythology doesn't really have an afterlife for the gods. They're meant to be eternal, right? So is it possible that in the same way that Kratos fled to Norse mythology, Zeus in astral form followed his path and figured at some point, just like time and time again in the past, he would end up in Helheim, just like the amount of times he ended up in the underworld in the Greek world? I really love this theory, and we will be, of course, doubling back on Zeus, I imagine, in Ragnarok, and I really do implore you guys to go check out that Reddit post down below. It's a really cool post. Go check it out for yourself. The God of War movie. In 2005, a God of War movie was initially announced, only to have the movie fully scripted a week before God of War 2 released. David Self wrote the script, while David Jaffe ensured fans that the script would be sent out to a, quote, huge name director. They also wanted Damon Hunsu to play Kratos, with Jaffe saying, quote, "You'd have to get past the fact that Damon is black and Kratos isn't, but in terms of the way he looks and his acting ability and his physique, I can't think of a better choice." It was also said that the Oracle would be played by a major actress, but things went silent until 2009 when Brett Rather confirmed he was working on a God of War movie. However, Stig Asmussen stated that he had no creative control on the movie itself. He then issued a statement saying, quote, "I don't believe anything other than a script has transpired at this stage. I think as a part of the agreement that the movie studio is supposed to console us. So if we hear something, then we'll know. But at this point, and in the past 2 years, we've heard nothing." and the movie died. But we are getting a God of War TV show from Amazon Prime, so we'll see how that goes. I'm very concerned and very scared for that. I feel like a live action God of War has to have a lot of budget behind it, a lot of passion behind it, and I just don't know if Amazon can do it, but we'll see in the future. Elysian Fields and Valhalla are the same. So first, I feel like we have to give definitions to both places. In Greek mythology, they believe in the Elysian Fields, aka Elysium. It's the final resting place of the soldiers of the heroic and the virtuous. In Norse mythology, they believe in Valhalla, which is the hall of slain warriors who live there blissfully under the leadership of God Odin. They eat and drink as much as they want and live in peace in Valhalla until they are needed to fight alongside Odin during Ragnarok. So since Norse mythology and Greek mythology exist in the same space and world, could it be possible that the Elysian Fields and Valhalla are the same afterlife, just different interpretations of the same space? What do you guys think? Surrender Kratos. In the original God of War 1, you can press R2 in specific spots to see the phrase surrender Kratos in the clouds. Hit R2 at the left side of the temple where a chest is at, near the save point where the little bugs are flying around, on top of the mound that the Gravedigger's hole is at, and between the two pillars with fire along the long stretch you have to walk on the opposite side of the Gravedigger. And this is really cool to find, considering that we already know now that the Gravedigger is Zeus himself. So could this be him trying to communicate to Kratos saying, hey, just quit now, we're at the start of the franchise, you know, you might as well just not end up going to God of War 2 and then God of War 3 and killing me there, you know, let's just stop now. That's kind of what I think is happening here with this, but what do you guys think in the comments below? Giant in a diaper. This was absolutely wild. Okay, so when you beat God of War 1, you're given access to the character graveyard where you can see models for various characters that were cut from the game, like Blue Kratos model, for example. One of the models you can find is a giant in a diaper who was Kratos' placeholder model while Kratos was being designed. Why this was the case, I have no idea. I would love to ask someone in Santa Monica, if any of you devs are watching that were around during that time, why did y'all use a giant in a diaper? Like, why? Dead goat. No, this isn't an asset that you can find in the game. No. This refers to the time that Sony threw a God of War launch party with a dead goat at the party. Yep. It was printed in the official PlayStation magazine, and guests allegedly ate food out of the dead goat's stomach. They threw knives at targets, pulled live snakes from pits with their bare hands, and plenty more shenanigans. Sony initially apologized and removed the 80,000 magazines from circulation. In a statement to Joystick, they claimed that some of the facts were wrong, and most of it was for promotion of God of War 2, not actual events. And so, who knows what accident went down at this party, you know what I'm saying? All I know is that I probably wouldn't want to be here at this particular party, or at least if I were to, you know, pull up to this party, definitely don't want anything to do with that dead goat. No matter. In the beginning of God of War 2, when Zeus sends Kratos to hell, he says this line, quote, "Even now as you draw your last breath, you continue to defy me. Everything you have ever known, Kratos, will now suffer because of your sacrilege." But in God of War 2, when Kratos is able to use the Sisters of Fate to go back to that very same point, Zeus now says, quote, "Even now as you draw your last breath, you continue to defy me, no matter." While this could just be a line change that we're all just reading too deep into, a later entry will shed more on this, but for now, let's just call it a weird, you know, line change, even though this was supposed to be the exact same moment from the beginning of the game. The Sisters of Fate are alive. So in God of War 2, we know that Kratos killed Clotho, and we all assume that he had killed Atropos and Lachesis since he broke the glass of the mirror that he trapped them in. But according to Corey Barlog, quote, "Only Clotho is dead. Atropos and Lachesis are alive, but trapped somewhere and waiting for revenge." So they could return in some form, maybe in Ragnarok to help, you know, Kratos change fate, right? To help change the fate of Ragnarok. Perhaps that could be something that we go back and do as a loose end that, you know, I don't think is widely known at all. I didn't know this to be true, but that'd be pretty interesting. What do you guys think could happen here with the future of these two living Sisters of Fate? Or will they just fall to the wayside and just be lore that, you know, never gets touched on again? The Blades of Chaos follow Kratos. In the God of War Fallen Gods comic that takes place after God of War 3, Kratos tries to rid himself of the blades by throwing them into the ocean multiple times, times, but the blades always end up with him. This could explain why he still has him in God of War 2018, and I also read somewhere that upon Olympus falling, the blades are no longer physically attached to his skin, but they do still follow him like a curse that he, describes in God of War 2018. So I'm not sure if that's real 100%, but that is something that I read further back that I couldn't find the actual source on. But yeah, the Blades of Chaos follow Kratos physically, and they will never be separated until the end of times, presumably, or when Kratos dies. Athena is real. So this is making the claim that Athena is real in God of War 2018. How this could be possible is that yes, Kratos did stab and kill her physical body in God of War 2, but she returned to him in astral form and says that she's ascended into a higher existence. It's said that only a few Greek gods can have this ability. The only one we're claiming that can also do this in this iceberg is Zeus himself. So in that same manner that Zeus's astral form could be in Helheim, Athena's astral form could be the version that visited Kratos when he went to go get the blades, and not just in his head. However, to play devil's advocate, they do appear different, so there's a chance that it could truly be in Kratos' head, but I personally want to believe that it's her in astral form. That'd be just incredible, and I hope we get to see more of Athena in Ragnarok. I feel like their dynamic just throughout the entire franchise just needs to be just more expounded upon during this era of Kratos, and I think it'd be really cool to see Athena in Ragnarok. Ares knew Kratos was his brother. This points to if Ares somehow knew that Kratos was his half-brother. Considering that the way the first game plays out, it's clear that the intention wasn't for Kratos to be a demigod from birth, but to just be immortal, so I think he probably just never knew, right? But there's theories online that try to tell it to be true, but honestly, I doubt it. I just feel like, Ares had no idea, and I feel like during God of War 1, that was not at all the intention until God of War 2 was written, and they started to expand upon that, and Zeus, of course, being the father of Kratos, right? I just feel like that was never a thing in God of War 1. Birth of the Beasts. This tells the original backstory of Kratos and Deimos in an unlockable movie called Birth of the Beasts in the original God of War. Long story short, Deimos with the other weak soldiers are sent to the mountains to fend for themselves, while Kratos is able to stay due to his strength. As expected by Sparta, the weak boys who were sent to the mountain, including Deimos, died. As Kratos became a legend in the Spartan army, Deimos matured in the underworld and plotted revenge against Kratos for deserting him. This was of course retconned in Ghost of Sparta to support the Marked Warrior prophecy and have Ares and Athena take Deimos, but it maintained the general story of Deimos feeling like Kratos abandoned him. Pretty neat to see what could have been Deimos' story, but I think I much like the Marked Warrior prophecy type stuff. I think it definitely is kind of cooler in my opinion. Kratos is still imprisoned by the Furies. This is a dream scenario type of theory in terms of what if Kratos is still imprisoned by the Furies in God of War Ascension. Imagine if they really pulled that. That'd be really bad, but obviously it's not true. But I do want to say this is the 69th entry in the iceberg, so 69. Nice. Deimos served Ares. So this theory stems from another Captain Kuba video, link in the description to the full theory video since I'm only going to summarize it here, but it goes over the theory in much greater detail that Deimos served Ares in the same way that Kratos eventually will become to serve him as well. He uses the physical appearance of Deimos when we see him imprisoned in the realm of the dead in Ghost of Sparta to suggest that if he was truly a prisoner to Ares, he wouldn't be so muscular and have armor and weaponry like Deimos does in that game. On top of that, Orkos in God of War Ascension explains that he was conceived by Ares and the Fury Queen in hopes of becoming the Marked Warrior prophecy, so that he may destroy Olympus as Ares wanted to assume power. Thus, maybe after Ares figured out that Orkos wasn't the Marked Warrior, he heard about Deimos and went to capture him and train him to be the one to take down Olympus. That is until the deal he made with Kratos, and I actually like this theory a lot. I think it kind of fits, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but what do you guys think? I think this definitely does kind of make sense, and at the bare minimum explains the physical physique behind Deimos. It definitely could just be the genetics of Kratos' family, but that could also explain that too. Distorted solar system. Once again, this entry was backed by another great video from Captain Kuba. Y'all seriously gotta check him out. He does really good God of War content. Please go check it out. And this video will be linked below in the description that he goes over this as well. But it revolves around a distorted solar system model in Tyr's Vault in God of War 2018, with some of the planets rearranged from where they should be on normal solar system models. But the real thing here is that it features a model where the sun is in the center of the solar system, which wasn't widely adopted until the 16th century, which is not at all when God of War takes place. The model also features 7 planets, which wasn't reflected in solar system models until 1781, with all previous models reflecting 6 planets. There's other points to this, but I really don't want to spoil Captain Kuba's video, but at the core, this may have been brought here from someone outside of this time. Can Tyr not only travel with different mythologies, but different times as well? You know, Ragnarok is days away. If not, by the time this goes up, it could be hours away, right? So I guess we'll find out in that game. Kratos' Immortality Curse. This refers to the notion that since Kratos has fought his way back from death so many times, can he ever truly die, right? He's been brutally stabbed so many times across the games. It really does beg to question, is Kratos just immortal, right? And this could tie into Persephone in Chains of Olympus, where she says to Kratos, quote, "Your suffering will never end." Now, yes, that could be, you know, just a throwaway line, just a threat of a line, right? But could this have been a curse put onto him? What do you guys think? Tyr is Odin. This points to a few Reddit posts that Tyr could somehow be Odin based off of the way he manipulates people. A lot of these theories seem really far-fetched, so I don't even know how to really talk about them because they just don't seem true at all, and it's a lot. It's a lot. Although I don't doubt that somehow Odin could be somehow manipulating Tyr in some way in Ragnarok. I definitely see how that could be the case, but Odin literally being Tyr, I just don't know. But this one though, this one's a little bit compelling, okay? Tyr is Kratos. Back before we got trailers for Ragnarok, a lot of people were using the nature of time travel and Kratos' new intentions in God of War 2018 to make the argument that Kratos is Tyr, that eventually Kratos would be sent back to lay the foundation to prevent Ragnarok, and that he would follow a similar pattern of being helpful to other gods across different mythologies. I actually really like this, and part of it seems like it could be a reality in Ragnarok, but you know, once again, we have seen them both standing there, and maybe, you know, there is something to this theory that ends up being true in Ragnarok. But I'll leave a link down below in the description to one of them. But to end, I will say that Kratos and Tyr, you know, I've always thought this, you know what I'm saying? I've never said this publicly, you know what I'm saying? This is the first time I'm saying this on the channel, right? But they look similar. Kratos and Tyr look eerily similar to me. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm capping, I don't know. Do y'all kind of see? I kind of see a resemblance. I don't know. Ares' soul is still alive. So this is where we play the rest of the first hidden message you get by beating the original God of War game on hard mode. I know I was very rude in cutting it off, but I had to save it for this entry in the Iceberg. Let's give it a listen.
Many have asked how I killed an immortal. How can a god itself be destroyed? For your reward, I invite you to gaze upon this, the true fate of Ares. The soul of Ares itself, the soul of war, the soul of hate. See how it writhes in pain. See how it struggles to be free, and yet here it stays, unable to breach the walls of this room. What does it want? What is it for? And more importantly, how can I use it when I finally decide to take revenge on him? Answers for another time. Consider yourself privileged, mortal. You have seen the true fate of my enemy. Now go! Our time together is at an end. We will meet again, mortal. I will see you again.
So this confirms that Ares' soul is trapped by Kratos, and it's a secret that not only Zeus himself knew. So I'm not sure if this has been retconned at all, but if it is still canon, could Kratos need to go back to Greece and retrieve the soul of Ares to defeat Zeus in Helheim, or to defeat Odin, or for some other purpose, right? I would absolutely love that. I've been saying on Road to Ragnarok podcast that I am dying to go back to Greece in this new era of God of War. Let's just go back, let's just see what's up with it, you know what I'm saying, if it's even rebuilt, and there may be a specific queen that Kratos would know that may be over there back in Sparta and Olympus. So we will talk about that later on in the iceberg. Kratos is death. So this is a theory that comes from the premise that Kratos is the embodiment of death. The first indication of this is when Ares admits that he puts his wife and daughter Lysandra and Calliope in front of his warpath so that they would die because of Kratos. He says, quote, "You will become even stronger, you will become death itself." And when you think about it, it makes a little sense here, right? Because Kratos has killed his wife, daughter, many innocent civilians, and armies during his military campaigns, his mother, most of the Greek gods, Balder. It goes on and on and on, right? So perhaps it's true that Kratos has become death itself. Calliope is the queen of Olympus. Let's get into this one, baby, okay? So this links to a few different things, but to start off with, we have to come to terms with the fact that Calliope is 25% god, since Kratos is a demigod and Lysandra is a full mortal, right? She was last seen in the Elysian Fields, where Kratos left her in chains of Olympus. Now, upon the fall of Olympus, the souls in the underworld were able to return to the land of the living and come back to life. So what if Calliope was able to return and assist in the rebuilding of Greece depicted in the vase that Kratos finds in Tyr's vault? That really would be something to hear and see, honestly, if we ever get to go back to Olympus and Kratos gets to reunite with his only daughter as the Queen of Olympus. Zeus Apologizes. This was meant to be played after Kratos knocks the fear out of Zeus's body against the rock in God of War 3.
Kratos, my son. I'm sorry. Release me.
It's been alleged that this was removed because it would make Zeus look more sympathetic and that the fear drove him to be a bad person, which would have been completely false since he's always been bad pretty much. Like, that's his whole type of thing, that Zeus and a lot of the other Greek gods like are really just big assholes, you know what I'm saying? But I want you to please go check out Captain Kuba's video on this. There's a lot more detail in this whole thing, link below in the description. Kratos traveled the multiverse, not time itself. So this ties back to the different line that Zeus says in God of War 2. To reiterate real quick, in the beginning of God of War 2, Zeus says, quote, "Even now as you draw your last breath, you continue to defy me. Everything you have ever known, Kratos, will now suffer because of your sacrilege." But then when Kratos goes back to that point in the end of God of War 2, Zeus says, quote, "Even now as you draw your last breath, you continue to defy me no matter." So this is all stemming from now making the point that this was not Kratos traveling through time, but traveling to a whole different multiverse because he doesn't hear the same line that Zeus initially said, right? And this is a whole different reality, right? Which I think overall makes sense, because if he were to go back to that original point, right, you're not really fixing anything. And if you were to just go back to that point, you wouldn't be able to go on the journey that you would have gone on in God of War, 2, or you would create a time loop of some sort, right? I'm pretty sure Endgame taught us this, I think. I forgot, you know what I'm saying? But like, I see that it would have been, more beneficial for them to have gone into another reality, right, and continue there and change the course of that reality's fate, as opposed to do the same thing in God of War 2, because then you're trapped in the loop. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much deep into it, but it could be that Kratos did not travel time, but traveled the multiverse. Zeus is trapped in hell. So if we are to believe that Zeus is real in God of War 2018, there's a chance he is trapped in Helheim because he has nowhere else to go. Due to Kratos collapsing Mount Olympus and the underworld, world, maybe Zeus's only place to go was Helheim itself. This I really don't like as much as a theory, just because I just feel like it's a lot more interesting for Zeus to be voluntarily hunting Kratos and voluntarily, you know, seeking out Kratos himself, his son, right? I feel like that's way more compelling than just, oh, Zeus's astral form, you know, just didn't have anywhere to go. And why would Zeus's astral form like need to be confided in anything or like have to go somewhere? Like, it's Zeus, right? Like, I feel like that one just doesn't really make sense overall, because I mean, yeah, you know, it just doesn't really make sense. And also, I just really love the notion of Zeus hunting Kratos. Tyr warns Zeus about Kratos. Now, this one I really love, okay? While it's already been explained that Zeus was driven by fear and the fact that Kratos killed Ares to be the main explanation to Zeus abruptly wanting to kill Kratos in the beginning of God of War 2. But what if during Tyr's travels, he warned Zeus about Kratos? Tyr was friendly with the giants, and maybe they provided some insight to him that the ghost of Sparta would inevitably travel to his lands and start Ragnarok. And in order to prevent that, he told Zeus of what he would do to him and his other gods on Mount Olympus. I kind of buy this, but there's so many things working against it. Like, the point of Zeus killing him so abruptly was to portray how far gone he was from the fear that came from Pandora's box. On top of that, the Marked Warrior Prophecy 2 is also at play here, and it seems really unlikely, but it would be really cool to see them tie it all back to Tyr. And I think above all else, you know, we do see that Tyr does travel to the Greek world at some point in the past, right? So that's definitely happened before, and I would just love to see a conversation between Zeus and Tyr. We have arrived at the last entry in the iceberg, and I'm only going to read these letters once, okay? The rest of the time, I'm gonna call it the Q phrase, okay? Qujik PHIUEEEKMJQUJ. This is an Easter egg you can do in God of War Ascension, where you get this text on the mural that says, quote, "Of all the prophecies I have seen, this one haunts my dreams." They say the Q phrase, and then they end off with, "The full truth of this nightmare yet remains hidden. Althea." So to solve this, it's a cipher and involves replacing the letters and switching languages or something like that. Link below in the description to get the full context of how to do it, because it's not important to this, you know, whole theory and video, but what it is what it means when translated. It translates to sun, bird, bull, lion, sun. All you have to do now is go to the symbols on the ground that correspond to the translation and press R1 in order of the translation itself. So go to the sun one, go to the bird, go to the bull, go to the lion, and then back to the sun, and you will get a really cool thing when you return to the painting, which is that it says, quote, "When the earth stops, the journey begins." And you see this like really beautiful like yellow like light coming from the earth and everything and stuff like that. It looks very interesting, right? So it's widely believed that this is an Easter egg for God of War 2018. And it's so cool to see that way back during God of War Ascension, the journey that they were dreaming in their heads was for Kratos to have a son named Atreus, and they take the ashes of their dead wife and dead mother atop the highest peak of all of the realms. And one last thing I do want to say here that was not in the scripts, but when you look at that yellow light emanating from the earth, right, I just can't help to think about the yellow color that represents Faye in God of War 2018, where her fingerprints, where the gold markings, the yellow markings, all are from Faye, and that she foresaw this journey that Kratos and Atreus would take. And just seeing the earth with that yellow light, it has to connect to Faye. That's just my little personal theory, not confirmed, but it could very well be.